Now, fears are growing of a major escalation here, and as tensions soar, what can we expect next from Iran?
Well, we are already in a stage of escalation. The Israeli regime has carried out an assassination in Tehran, murdered a very high-ranking Palestinian official, a very close friend of Iran and Iranians and and leaders in Iran. And it was an insult to the dignity and honor of the Iranians who are hosting him. In addition, the Israeli regime bombed Beirut. They bombed a civilian building, killing ordinary people and assassinating a senior military official there. And they also struck a civilian target in Al Hodeidah in Yemen. So it's the Israeli regime and Netanyahu that have sought escalation, and therefore that is the state in which we are right now. So what the Iranians are going to do is they're going to have to hit Iran. They're going to have to hit Israel back hard in order to make sure the Israeli regime regrets what it did. In April, when Iran struck the Israeli regime, the Iranians fired 300 older drones and older missiles. They were largely there to see what the Israelis had. The Israelis spent almost $1.5 billion downing those cheap drones, and the Americans spent $2.5 billion. But Iran was able to gain a lot of intelligence during that strike without giving anything and without any cost. So this time around, the Iranians know what capabilities the Americans and the Israelis have, and therefore they can use a larger amount of weapons. They can use more sophisticated weapons. But in any case, the Iranians are going to hit back, and they're going to hit back hard.
You say that Iran's going to hit back hard, Mohammed. They're saying that serious action is yet to come. But as we were discussing there, they're also insisting that Tehran doesn't want to see an escalation here. Does it or doesn't it?
Well, obviously, no one in the region except for Netanyahu and the people around him want an escalation. Well, an escalation could mean the end of the global economy. If the United States gets involved in any attack on Iran, have no doubt that the United States will be wiped out in Iraq, and U.S. bases in the Persian Gulf region will be destroyed, and those regimes that host U.S. bases will be destroyed. These are small regimes, very vulnerable, with oil and gas assets. If the Americans strike Iran, they will be responsible because they're hosting American bases. They cannot escape responsibility. So that would lead to a global economic collapse. And we already see what's going on in the global stock markets today. So the smart thing for the Americans to do is to be very careful about what they do. But Iran has in fact, Iran has no option but to strike at Israel, even though Iran does not want a regional war. For the very fact, as you showed earlier, that the United States will not prevent the Israelis from carrying out atrocities, whether in Gaza and the Holocaust in Gaza, or the assassinations in Iran or Lebanon. Whatever the Israeli regime does, the regime in Washington will protect it. Regimes in Europe will protect it. So it is for countries like Iran and the axis of resistance to punish the Israeli regime in order to stop the Holocaust, in order to stop the assassinations, because it's only these countries that can stop the regime. It's Iran, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen that are actively supporting the people of Palestine. And if they refrain from pushing back at the regime, then the regime will continue the Holocaust in Gaza until they've wiped out the whole population.
Mohammed, thank you very much for your time and your thoughts. Mohammed Marandi speaking to us live there from the Iranian